Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, I'll be talking about another film favorite of mine, and that is, of course, An Adventure in Space and Time. Absolutely love and adore this film, written by Mark Gatiss, directed by Terry McDonough. If you call yourself even remotely a Whovian, this has to be on your shelf somewhere in ownership at this point, because this is basically chronicling the origins of the series that is Doctor Who. It's very interesting when you, especially compared to the modern series and the phenom powers that it has, to learn that, back in the 1960s when they were creating this, it was a very tumultuous thing that they almost didn't get off the ground on a number of occasions. And stars primarily, of course, David Bradley as William Hartnell, the indelible Jessica Raine as Verity Lambert, and Brian Cox as Sidney Newman, among others. And it really does chronicle the story of those origins in the early 60s and how tumultuous they were. I mean, everything from the studio they were filming in being just bonkers, William Hartnell's ailments and forgetfulness of his lines, and people's somewhat, moving on after a time, after having successes. I mean, with the Daleks, Verity Lambert had to very much fight Sidney Newman over this not being bug-eyed monsters as you would find in other sort of 50s, 60s, sci-fi tropes and stuff like that. And they're what really made the series gold. As well as William Hartnell. I love that William Hartnell, in all of his glory, is very much under the microscope in this film, in that you're seeing his ornery side, his pridefulness, his irascibility, as well as his ailments and his endearing nature in the role of the Doctor, especially interacting with children. There's a great scene along those lines in this film. And it really kind of transitions to focusing on the production aspect to, as people are leaving, as they're moving on to other different filmography things, films, movies, TV projects. It really does begin to focus on Hartnell himself in a way that, just makes him very endearing when he breaks down crying after essentially being let go from Doctor Who. If you don't have misty eyes at that point, you got to be like having no soul, The end of this movie, it's along those lines as well. Basically, Hartnell has to confront the fact that his time is up playing the Doctor, and it's just such a well-crafted love letter to the entire series of Doctor Who. Everything from problems like, the day they were first meant to air was just after the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, and how Verity Lambert had to fight to get them to re-air the first episode, essentially. The higher ups above Sidney Newman were telling him to can it, and he went against that and everything like that. I mean, to learn that these people were so passionate about this series and what it could do, and how much they fought for it, is just so meaningful and so wonderful, especially because 50 years later, we still have this series in our lives. It's become an overnight sensation for me. I love a lot of the classic series, love all of the modern, and it's just an interesting journey to see chronicled in this such a way. Very well acted. The only minor gripe I would have is in certain spots, some of the casting I thought was a little bit off. I mean, for the most part, all the main players embody the role they're supposed to, portray, especially names that I'm forgetting, but the actress who played Carol Ann Ford, the one who played, companion Barbara and everything like that, very much looked the role. You had Jessica Raine just embodying the piss and vinegar veined Verity Lambert, and of course David Bradley steals the show as William Hartnell. And but there were some actors and actresses that I just felt were kind of off-putting a little bit, like the actor who was playing Patrick Troughton. For the few seconds we see him, just doesn't look anything like the man, and it kind of took me out of it a little bit. But for the most part, this was just a well-balanced, wonderful love letter gesture to Doctor Who, and I couldn't more highly recommend it. So otherwise, that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.